Soul 3, a realistic epic fantasy adventure by J.N. Wdowski, copyright 2025. Note: for your full enjoyment, be sure to read or listen to the end and continue to the next chapter. Chapter 26. Pixa insisted on taking point as they traveled south on Riverside Road. Dale was no longer comfortable with her being up front alone. Josh willingly took point with her, adding his heightened senses to scouting the road and the woods ahead. Chopson and Zoop both rode on each side of Dale with the others following them. Their luck with sunny skies was changing. Dark storm clouds were rolling in from the west. By midday, the first drops of rain began to fall. Dale looked up, feeling the first drop. He pulled out the map that he bought from Dorfman and looked to see how much further they had to go. We should be reaching an intersection for a road that heads east. You want me to ride ahead and tell Pixa and Josh to take that road? Zoop asked. Dale nodded in agreement, and Zoop had his mount gallop up ahead. Pixa returned back to Dale when Zoop reached them. I'm not going to be able to keep flying, she explained. The dark rain clouds were cutting off too much of the sunlight she needed for flight. Not waiting for him to reply, she flew down and sat before him. She wrapped her legs and arms onto his saddle horn as she folded her wings. Thank you, Dale. It was then the rain began to come down heavier. Hopefully we will reach the farmstead before this turns into a downpour, he explained to her. Late afternoon. They were all drenched by the time they reached the deserted farmstead. There were signs that demonic forces had visited the farm. All the livestock were slain. The farmhouse had been ransacked, but was still standing in one piece. After putting the horses up in the barn, they took shelter in the farmhouse. The darkness of the storm was so severe that Pixa was extremely drowsy. Dale carried her into the farmhouse, placing her on top the table. They had to turn back upright. Two of the men started a fire in the hearth as the others cleaned up the mess the raiding party had left behind. Pixa sat on the edge of the table. Her eyes were heavy as she looked up at Dale. I am sorry. I am not much used to you in this weather. There is no reason to apologize. We're all tired. Dale looked for a good spot for Pixa to lie down and rest. The farmhouse was not big and was a ranch with only the main floor. There were two doors that he guessed were to bedrooms. Peterson, please check those rooms are clear, he asked one of the spearmen. Aye, Dale. Peterson put his spear by the entrance door, drew his sword, and went to check the back rooms. He looked back down at Pixa. She seemed almost intoxicated to him without the energy of the sun. Are you okay? He worried she might fall off the edge of the table. Her eyes smiled at him. I am okay, Dale. I'm just a little weak. Peterson returned. The rooms are a mess, but they're all clear. At that moment, a massive lightning strike lit the ranch with a large boom of thunder. It startled all of them. The rain came down so heavy, they could hear it hitting the roof. Dale, though, enjoyed the rhythm of the sound of rain on the roof above them. The great author is telling us something. Josh approached Dale and Pixa as he glanced up at the roof, listening to the sound of the heavy rain. Which is? Dale asked. Well, only the continuation of the story will actually tell. Yet, the storm could have some deep symbolic literary meanings in his narrative, Josh explained. What do you think it means? Pixa, who got a sudden boost of energy from the flash of lightning, asked Josh. Josh looked at her and thought deeply and seriously. I have never tried to interpret the great author's meanings before. I am not really sure. Do you think there are meanings behind his narration? Are his stories more than just stories? She was honestly curious about his belief in the great author's intentions. Yes, I do, Josh nodded in agreement. I do think his stories have unwritten themes, meanings between the lines. Josh then shook his head in the negative. I have never been a deep thinker like Dale is. He looked to Dale. I am sure Dale is aware of the great author's underlying theme of our story. Yes, Dale. Dale had to smile. Thank you for the vote of confidence, Josh. I guess I always do think what it all means. Why are we here? Is there a meaning to life? Do we have a greater purpose than to just live and survive day by day? Pixa, starting to feel tired again, losing the energy the lightning had given her, she smiled at Dale. I think Josh is right, Dale. If anyone would understand those questions, the meaning behind the great author's narration, it would be you. Or Greendale, chimed in Chopson, catching the tail end of their conversation. Dale looked at Chopson, who had been warming himself at the fire. I would agree. If anyone would know, it would be Greendale. I just don't see him as much of a man of faith, though. Greendale has faith? Chopson thought about it. If he does, it is the belief that if there is a supreme being, he helps those that help themselves. I have no idea if he believes in a creator or great author. If he does, I don't think Greendale thinks this creator cares much about us. If he did create the world, he might have gotten the ball rolling, but has already moved on to other things, perhaps better things than our world. A mere speck of dust in the universe. Is that what Greendale has told you? Dale questioned. Or is that your belief? Well, no. He never discussed the subject with me. Chopson reflected. I guess you're right. If I think about it, I guess it's what I deeply believe. There was a creator, but he, she, or it long ago moved on to better things to do. Then watch over us. All interesting points, but don't you think we should be using this time to check the shelter now that we are finally here? Zup, a bit impatient, walked over to the small group. Lightning flashed, followed quickly by thunder. You want to start to look for the shelter in this? Dale questioned him. Besides, you were the one that said that perhaps it is guarded by a monster or monsters down there. It will be evening in a couple of hours, even if the storm does end soon. You want to go down there at night? Zup reluctantly had to agree. I see your point. Dale turned Zup's attention to the men, all still drying off in front of the fire. I think they could all use a bit of a break. We'll explore the shelter at first daylight. If it is even here. Zup, disappointed, returned to the fire to continue drying off. Please continue for your full enjoyment to Chapter 27.
To support the author, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.